Large parts of Europe have seen unseasonably warm temperatures this winter, with the warmest ever January day being recorded in 8 countries. Now, that's good news for energy bills, but terrifying news for the planet. Now, this map shows some of the places where new records were set. They include the Netherlands, Denmark, and Latvia, while Poland, Czechia, and Belarus saw especially high temperatures. Now, in some places, previous records weren't just beaten, they were smashed. Belarus felt its warmest ever winter temperature of 16.4 degrees Celsius. That's 4.5 degrees higher than its previous record. Now, normally when records get broken, it's by 0.1 degrees or whatever. This was 4.5 degrees. Meanwhile, at the same time, parts of Poland enjoyed temperatures of 19 degrees Celsius. Now, that's 18 degrees higher than the usual average of just 1 degree for this time of year. So if you went to Poland this time of year, or if you're in Poland this time of year, you'd expect the temperature to be 1 degrees. Instead, it's 19 degrees. Now, I've given up on my dream of going to get a little bit of January sun. And it turns out I don't have, the time or the resources right now. But when I was looking just before Christmas, I was looking at the Canary Islands, like which is the hottest Canary Island? You say, oh, the average temperature in Tenerife is 19 degrees. Oh, that could probably be worth the trip. If you go to Poland right now, where the average temperature is 1 degree, is what you'd expect the Canary Islands to be. This is not remotely normal. Obviously, meteorologists are also accepting this is not remotely normal. I should say accepting, I mean, they're sounding the alarm that this is not remotely normal. Alex Burkle is a senior meteorologist with the Met Office. He told The Guardian this: it's been extreme heat across a huge area, which is almost, to be honest, unheard of. It has been widespread. Denmark, Czech Republic, as well as pretty much the whole of Germany have seen temperatures for January exceeding records. In the UK, as you've probably noticed, our winter temperatures haven't broken any records yet. It's not particularly warm in the UK right now. But it turns out December was the only one of the previous 12 months not to be hotter than average, with 2022 having been declared the hottest year on record.
This is the impact of countries like Britain, like the US, countries that have a huge historical responsibility for emissions, for climate breakdown, doing barely anything when it comes to their historical responsibility for not only supporting a transition to a green economy, to a decarbonized economy, but also for investing in the kinds of infrastructures, particularly in countries of the global south that are more vulnerable, to help mitigate from the impacts of climate change that are already underway. Britain in particular likes to talk a really big game about how, we're a climate leader and we're committed to all these targets, net zero by 2050, But in reality, just at the end of last year, we had a story where Britain had commissioned a new coal mine in 2022 with everything that we know. And the argument was, this is going to allow us to stop importing steel, which is going to be made in, less green conditions or whatever. Not true. The steel industry in this country said that they won't use any of the coal that comes from that Cumbria coal mine because of the sulfur content or something. I'm not a steel maker. But essentially they said that coal was useless to them. And then the other argument was, this is going to bring really good jobs. Jobs in the fossil fuel industry are notoriously not good. And also the fact that we are allegedly having to resort to opening a coal mine in order to create jobs shows just how far behind Britain is when it comes to where we should be. We should already have a fully costed, outlined, clear industrial strategy that demonstrates how we are going to transition from a fossil fuel-based economy to a clean energy-based economy, and in a way that protects workers' rights, generates jobs. There are lots of jobs to be made in the green transition, in a just transition. And this government doesn't have the will or the skill in order to produce that strategy. And so this is the knock-on effect of that lack of political strength, essentially, and that making these obscene decisions like opening a new coal mine and essentially refusing to face the reality of this situation. And what is more depressing than ever is the fact that all of the core issues we have spoken about throughout the show, whether it's funding healthcare, whether it's giving public sector workers a real terms wage increase, whether it's supporting working conditions to become more secure, for example. These are all things that could be part and parcel of a just transition, because ultimately the policies that would involve reorienting our government and our economy away from extraction and away from just making a small number of executives in particular destructive industries wealthy at the expense of the rest of us, of investing in things that just make profit for a small number of people, but actually orienting our economy towards something that is care-based and towards something that is people-based and that holds people and planet as its priority. Instead, what we've seen this government do is commission new fossil fuel projects, and at a time when the moral and financial, or well, not financial bankruptcy, but essentially the illogical economy of a fossil fuel company, as we've seen with the energy crisis, the volatility, the instability of an energy system based on fossil fuels, which could have been a golden opportunity to actually transition, to make strides towards transitioning away from fossil fuels. Instead of doing that, for example, by imposing a windfall tax, instead of doing that, this government decided to essentially save fossil fuel companies by robbing us blind in our energy bills. So at time and time again, despite this government claiming to be a climate leader, when it comes to the important decisions, they have always sided with fossil fuel companies over everyday people. And that's how we're in this really terrifying mess that we're in now.